Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode number 264 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. We have some really sad news to report. Stacey King, who was a former NBA champion and a former broadcaster for the Chicago Bulls, has passed away today, sadly. Stacey King, who played with the Chicago Bulls from 1989 to 1994, while also playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves from 1994 to 95. The Ariz Basket in 1995, then the Miami Heat from 1995 to 96, then the Grand Rapid Hoops from 1996 to 1997, Sioux Falls Skyforce in 1997, Boston Celtics and Dallas Mavericks in 1997. He also played for the Atlanta Bayakishir Betelgeuse from 1997 to 1998, then the Sioux Falls Skyforce in 1998, then the Aeneas de Cordoba from 1998 to 1999. Also had a stint with coaching from coached the Rockford Lightning from 2001 to 2002. And the Rockford Lightning were or are a CBA, so it's a conventional basketball association, and the Sioux Falls Skyforce, an NBA G League based in Sioux Falls and South Dakota, and they're also affiliated with the Miami Heat. And Stacey King had a really solid career. He was a three-time NBA champion from 1991 to 93, NBA All-Star rookie second team in 1990, Sporting News Player of the Year in 1989, continuous first team All-America in 1989, Big Eight Player of the Year in 1989, first team All Big Eight in 1989, and he had his number 33 retired by the Oklahoma Sooners. And Stacey King was also a broadcaster for the Chicago Bulls, broadcasted them from 2006. And also, it's really sad because Stacey King made Chicago Bulls games so enjoyable, had so many legendary calls from Derrick Rose's MVP season, the Chicago Bulls playoff stints in the 2010s, even in the 21-22 season, to even Josh Giddey's half-court game winner against the Lakers. And Jerry Reinsdorf, the chairman owner of the Bulls and the White Sox, stated this: Stacey King was a cherished member of the Bulls family and one of the truly unique personalities in our organization's history. His connection to the Chicago the Bulls, and our fans spanned more than 3 decades, first as a player and later as the unmistakable voice that helped bring Bulls basketball into the homes of generations of fans. We will miss him deeply and remember the joy, energy, humor, candor, and passion he brought to our organization, our broadcast, and our fans every day. Our thoughts are with his family and his loved ones. Even Michael Reinsdorf, the son of Jerry Reinsdorf, has also stated Stacey loved being a Bull. You could feel it in everything he did. The way he played, the way he called games, and the way he connected with our fans. He had a unique gift for bringing people together and making every game feel personal, whether it was through a broadcast, a conversation, or a photo with a fan. Stacey made people feel seen and valued. We were fortunate to know him not only as a player and broadcaster, but as a friend. Stacey genuinely cared about people and he made our organization better. We will miss him deeply, and his impact, memory, and legacy will remain a part of the Chicago Bulls forever. Stacey King was easily was one of the greatest broadcasters ever with the Chicago Bulls. And what's really sad now is the duo with him and Neil Funk, and also with Adam Amin. Bulls games were so fun to listen to, and Stacey King had wonderful humor during Bulls games, even with his most famous phrase that us basketball and Bulls fans were known to listening to, which was "Give me the hot sauce." So it's really sad. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family. And now we got to go to other news. So another crazy news that's happened in Chicago. My thoughts and prayers go out to his family. It's really sad. Rest in peace to Stacey King, a legendary Greatest Bulls broadcaster ever. All right. Now on to the Chicago Bears or the Hammond, Indiana Bears, because multiple reports that the Chicago Bears are planning on moving to Hammond, Indiana. Stated by Chairman George H. McCaskey and President CEO Kevin Warren. This was from a couple days ago. Yesterday, the Chicago Bears board of directors met and voted to advance our stadium development project in Hammond, Indiana. With the exact site to be selected, we believe a world-class stadium project in Hammond will transform the region, connecting Northwest Indiana to the south side of Chicago through the loop and across neighborhoods and suburbs stretching north of the city. It will bring Chicagoland together and deliver new opportunities to its residents and business. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Not seeing the Bears play in Chicago is gonna feel really weird. Was Soldiers Field a really good football stadium? Not exactly, but there were multiple reports that they were going to move to Arlington Heights in Illinois, and I still think that may happen at the end of the day, but this is insane. And especially from an ownership in George McCaskey, who are owed around or more $3 billion. Like, you're telling me Hammond, Indiana was a better location than Arlington Heights? Like, really? This is so strange. Always let me know your thoughts and opinions on Twitter at BillmanSports, Instagram at BillmanSportsGuy, and here also in the comments below on YouTube at BillmanSportsGuy. All right, another news to talk about. But before we go to the big NHL news, we have a retirement. Milan Lucic. Remember that name? Well, he announced his retirement from the NHL. Milan Lucic, who played in the NHL from 2007 to 2023-24 season, he played with the Boston Bruins, Los Angeles Kings, Edmonton Oilers, and the Calgary Flames. And then his last season came in the 2023-24 season with the Boston Bruins. So Milan Lucic, throughout his entire career, played in 1,177 games played, 233 goals, 353 assists for 586 points. And then if we go to the playoffs, he scored in 136 games played, 29 goals, 48 assists for 77 points. So Lucic was the definition of a player who always worked hard, but at the same time was always known for throwing the body. Now, I would say Lucic probably goes into the Hall of Goods. He was just a solid good player, even though, sure, he was no superstar. With his career high in points was 62 back in the 2010-2011 season. Also had a 30-goal season and is only. But Lucic, thought was a really solid player. He won a Stanley Cup. Obviously, didn't win too many awards outside of that. But in the end, congratulations on a marvelous career to Milan Lucic. Now let's go to the big NHL news. And this was literally reported by Elliot Friedman, who is one of the best NHL writers. So, Dylan Larkin of the Detroit Red Wings has requested a trade from Detroit. This is literally insane. And I had to check all resources when I first saw that, because when I first saw the report, I thought, surely this can't be correct, right? Well, I was fooled. It is. Dylan Larkin, by the way, this is what's going to be interesting. Dylan Larkin has a no-move trade clause, so he has a say in what team he wants to go to. And Dylan Larkin, also currently in the middle of an 8-year, $69.6 million deal, so just short of $70 million. And his annual cap hit is $8.7 million, and he's not a free agent until the 2030-2031 season. So, Dylan Larkin, let's actually go to the Red Wings while we're also talking about Dylan Larkin, because I'm going to say why. So obviously the Detroit Red Wings for the third straight season almost made the playoffs, but then they fell short. In some degree. Because the Detroit Red Wings in the Eastern Atlantic Division finished in sixth place again with a record of 41, 31, 10. They had a goals for of 241, goals against 258, goal differential minus 17. They were 2-6-2 in their last 10 games, unfortunately. The Red Wings also had a 21-16-4 home record. Away, they were 20-15-6, and they lost the last game. Now, if we go to the player stats, Dylan Larkin, by the way, finished third with 34 goals, 33 assists for 67 points. Now, the two skaters ahead of him were Alex DeBrincat and Lucas Raymond. So DeBrincat, 82 games played, 41 goals, 44 assists for 85 points. That's pretty good. Lucas Raymond, 80 games played, 25 goals, 51 assists for 76 points. That's also good. Maurice Sider, 82 games played, 10 goals, 50 assists for 60 points. That's also solid. Patrick Kane, still in a Red Wings uniform. Yuck. 67 games played, 16 goals, 41 assists for 57 points. Not bad. Andrew Kopp, 79 games played, 9 goals, 34 assists for 43 points. Justin Falk in 78 games played combined between the St. Louis Blues and the Detroit Red Wings. He scored 16 goals, 24 assists for 40 points. James Van Riemsdyk in 72 games played, 15 goals, 16 assists for 31 points. Emmett Finney in 82 games played, 13 goals, 17 assists for 30 points. Then to round up the top 10, David Perron, actually a tie, both David Perron and JT Compher. David Perron, 65 games played, 13 goals, 15 assists for 28 points. JT Compher, 11 goals, 17 assists for 28 points in 82 games played. And a couple honorable mentions. Simon Edmondson, 72 games played, 9 goals, 16 assists for 25 points. Then Alexel Sandy Pelika, 68 games played, 7 goals, 14 assists for 21 points. And then let's go to the goalies. John Gibson, 57 games played in his first year in a Red Wings uniform, finished with a record of 29, 22, and 4, 272 goals against, 901 save percentage. And then Cam Talbot, in 34 games played, had a record of 12, 9, 6, 319 goals against, 883 save percentage. All right. Now let's get to the Dylan Larkin part, because Dylan Larkin, as of right now, is the longest tenured player of the Red Wings. He's been in the league since 2015, 2016. And do you know what happened in his rookie season? The Red Wings made the playoffs, but got eliminated by the Tampa Bay Lightning in 5 games. And Dylan Larkin, solid rookie year for the most part. But that season was his only season to where Dylan Larkin saw postseason hockey. So, on one hand, you can understand the frustration. And after that, missed the playoffs. While Dylan Larkin has gave his heart out to the Red Wings every game, every night, including scoring a career-high 79 points back in the 2022-23 season. So, and also with new general manager Steve Yzerman. Well, not new general manager. He's been there since the 2020s. But, Red Wing fans, do they trade Dylan Larkin? Is it actually going to happen? If yes, what team can you see him go to? And here's the big question. Does this put Steve Yzerman on the hot seat? Because for as long as he's been Detroit Red Wings general manager, he has not seen postseason hockey. His so-called the Yzer plan, that has not worked. And if the Red Wings miss the playoffs again, I bet you they will be looking for a new general manager. Now, some of the forwards and defensemen all did fine in certain occasions with the Red Wings. However, It's also the goaltending I'm a little concerned with when it comes to Detroit. John Gibson did okay. He wasn't really great, but he wasn't really bad. Cam Ward, not so great. So, at the end of the day, Detroit Red Wing fans, number one, what do the Wings need to do in the offseason to finally hit postseason? Because now that the Buffalo Sabres made the playoffs, the Red Wings now have the longest playoff miss tenure. And if Dylan Larkin ends up getting traded, what does this mean for Steve Yzerman? Will he be fired as Detroit Red Wings manager if Larkin gets traded? Because it's sure going to look like he will. I can guarantee you that. And with the offseason, free agency not happening until July 1st, let's see what the Red Wings can do between the draft and free agency. And to end this episode, why not talk about the Chicago Blackhawks? Because I'm a Blackhawks fan at the end of the day. While I do also root for the Carolina Hurricanes because they're in the Stanley Cup Finals, even though they lost a close Game 3 to the Las Vegas Golden Knights. Chicago Blackhawks, obviously, they finished last place in the Western Central Division. They had a record of 29-39-14 for 72 points. Ouch. They had a goals for of 213, goals against 275. The goal differential was a worse minus 62. That's actually that's the second worst in the entire West. It's literally not as bad as the East. The only team to have a worse goal differential of them, ladies and gentlemen, is the Vancouver Canucks at minus 100. So, then let's go to the player stats. Let's start off with the goaltenders. Why not? Actually, I changed my mind. Let's do forwards. To no surprise, Connor Bedard, 69 games played, 30 goals, 45 assists for 75 points. Followed by Tyler Bertuzzi in 79 games played, 32 goals, 26 assists for 58 points. Frank Nazar in 66 games played, 15 goals, 26 assists for 41 points. Ilya Mikheyev in 77 games played, 18 goals and assists for 36 points. Teuvo Teravainen, 75 games played, 14 goals, 21 assists for 35 points. Followed by Andrei Burakovsky in 75 games played, 11 goals, 22 assists for 33 points. Ryan Donato in 82 games played, 15 goals and assists for 30 points. Ryan Green, 81 games played, 12 goals, 17 assists for 29 points. Luis Crevier in 78 games played, 7 goals, 18 assists for 25 points. 25 points. Excuse me. Then Artem Leshinov in 68 games played, 2 goals, 22 assists for 24 points. Then if we go to the goaltenders, Spencer Knight, 55 games played, 19, 25, and 11, 282 goals against, 902 save percentage. Arvid Soderblom, 24 games played, 8 goals, 8 wins, 13 losses, 3 overtime shootout losses. In case I said that wrong. 380 goals against, 880 save percentage. And then Drew Commissaro played 3 games, 2-1-0, 231 goals against, 918 save percentage. All right. First and foremost, the Blackhawks had some strides, but then the injury bug really set them back. Mainly with Connor Bedard and Frank Nazar. So, who are the Blackhawks going to add in the offseason? Because as a Hawks fan, I really think they need to add more players to help Connor Bedard. They need to go sign or trade for a big name player. I'm not asking for them to go after a guy like Nathan McKinnon or an Austin Matthews, but my point is Bedard needs help because Who truly is going to be in the Chicago Blackhawks for long term, even with Connor Bedard? I still think it's going to be Tyler Bertuzzi because he's actually done pretty good in his first two seasons with the Hawks. Frank Nazar, solid, not bad first year, or second year, technically. Ilya Mikheyev was actually pretty good for a bottom six in his only season with the Hawks so far. Teuvo Teravainen's got to step it up. But we go to younger players like Ryan Green, Luis Crevier, Alex Vlasic, well, Oliver Moore. White Kaiser took a nice step. Nick Lardis looked really good in the amount of games he played. Same with Sam Reinzel. Now, for guys like Anton Frondel, Sasha Bosford, I'm very curious to see what a full season of them would look like. Same with goaltender Drew Commissaro, who I believe will be the backup to Spencer Knight because Arvid Soderblom did not get the job done. So, and also, who's going to be the true name or be the true number one defense for the Blackhawks? Because Artem Leshinov had his grows this season, but also had his lows. Sam Renzel thought he looked really good in the amount of games he played. Kevin Korchinski, Ethan Del Mastro, a combined 3 assists in 32 games played. Yikes. Luis Crevier looked really good in his season with the Hawks. Alex Vlasic, still looking really solid. White Kaiser thought looked really good. So in the end, I think the Blackhawks wouldn't hurt if they signed another goaltender for depth, but need to go after a big name player to help Connor Bedard. And also, who's the true top 4 defense for the long term of the Chicago Blackhawks? Let me know your thoughts and opinions. And this concludes episode 264 of Bill Man the Sport Guys podcast. I'm your host, Bill Man the Sports Guy. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Stay tuned for episode number 265. Peace.